let's get to work. Let's spend the next hour with Russell. Thank you. One of my best friends in the whole industry. Russell, it's great to have you on here. We're recording, so I'm going to turn it over to you, man. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Gary. Appreciate it. Yeah, as Gary mentioned, I'm Russell Warnhoff. I am the Western Zone Custom Integration Manager here, based in Colorado, but cover the kind of Western region. So I know it's a little bit later in the morning, so maybe we got some people joining us from my zone, but I work alongside Andrew Turner and Kayvon. Andrew covers Central. Kayvon is our Eastern technical trainer. And then I work with Kathleen Thomas, who is my boss, but she is the regional manager here in our Western region. Kevin O'Laughlin is in Central, and then Nick Kokikos on the Eastern side. So with that, there is enough information about me. Let's talk about why you guys are here for the next hour. And we've got a lot to cover. So we're going to start with our ES line of receivers. And from here, we'll go into our ES line of projectors. And then we'll wrap up with the exciting new TVs that we just announced that you're starting to see now hit those Snap stores. Some models will be a little bit later here, coming up in later this month through July and through August. If you have any questions on ETAs, feel free to drop a line in the chat, and I can answer any questions for you guys. But thank you all for attending. Really appreciate your time today. And let's get started. So quick housekeeping, some helpful resources here. Gary alluded to, we've got some traveling line shows that are coming around the country. Hopefully you've got information in each of those branches that you guys are visiting with Snap. These are outside of like the tech summits. We did participate in the Southern California Tech Summit, and we will at some future events in the future. But outside of those, if you are in any of these cities or states, be sure to take a look at these dates and reach out to your contact at your local branch, or even better, get in touch with one of our local Sony representatives, our Sony rep firms in your region. Make sure you get registered for it, attend these. We're showing all of the latest technology, all the new TVs, all the projectors, all the receivers. And in addition to covering all the technical stuff, we're having a good time at, you see some breweries and other venues here. So be sure to check that out if you have time. We'd love to see you there. So a couple other helpful resources, Sony Premium Home, that should be your go-to website. I'd bookmark that page and save it to some of your favorites. We've got our Sony consumer facing site. That's great for consumers, but Sony Premium Home is more for our channel. From here, you can get manuals, cut sheets, a lot more detailed information on the Sony products. That is the 800 number to our CI support team. They're standing by waiting to assist you out in the field if you're running into any technical issues. Or maybe you've got some concealed shipping damage, etc. Definitely get in touch with your local Snap branch about those, but you can also call us at that 800 number. That is the install support email, and then there's my email down below. So feel free to reach out with any questions or concerns or feedback. So before we kick things off on the ES line of receivers, just want to kind of go through the Sony story. Where Sony started, where we're going. Decades ago, these two brilliant individuals brought their innovation, the technology, their engineering, and formed what we know as Sony today, right? Going back to, the mid 40s. Since then, Sony's developed many different products, one of which in our lineup is called our ES line. Probably have seen that over the years. You've sold it. ES stands for Elevated Standard. And ES really represents kind of the pinnacle of performance in those categories. Whether it was starting off with like the TA 1120 that you see here. In 1965, this was the world's first all silicon transistor integrated amplifier, or stereo amplifier. Not necessarily integrated, but first stereo amplifier. If you happen to see this, like if you're on Facebook Marketplace or you're at a garage sale and you happen to catch one of these, I would pick that up, or send me a text or an email, let me know where that is, and I'll go get that. It's worth a lot of money today. So, but ES, going back, it really started like 1965, right? Since then, you've seen turntables, tone arms, tape decks, SACD players, reel-to-reel tape, recorders, AVR receivers, projectors. You kind of get the point, right? You've seen that ES kind of evolve over the years. And ES, like I said, it represents that pinnacle of performance, but it also represents quality and reliability, right? With an ES AVR receiver, you're going to get a 5-year warranty, or your customer is going to get a 5-year warranty because they are so reliable and quality, which I'll touch on here in just a little bit. Just continuing with that Sony story, one unique thing about the products that we sell, and just Sony in general, is our lens to living room story. For those of you who haven't heard this, or maybe you have, we're there at the time this content's being created in a lot of cases, right? It's being shot on a Sony camera. In most cases, it's being mastered on a Sony professional display, not just with Sony Pictures, but a lot of the other companies out there too. This is the reference level monitor that's used to get that perfect color, that perfect brightness for these, this content that we're watching. The image you see here, the digital rendering, this is our BVM Pro Series monitors. Some of you have probably seen these before. It's a 30-inch display. And can you guess how much this thing costs? It's about $1,000 an inch. So it's about $30,000 for a 30-inch display. But again, when creating the content, they want that perfect picture. And this is the way to do that. So what I always say is, hey, if it was shot on a Sony, if it was processed and mastered on a Sony, why not watch it on a Sony TV or Sony projector in your home, right? Lens to living room, kind of cool story. Same thing for music. Gary and I are huge music lovers. He plays in an amazing band. If you ever get a chance to check him out, he's an incredible musician. But Sony's there, with our headphones, microphones, what have you. We help these artists create a lot of the content. And then what better way to listen to it or play it back through like an AVR receiver, right? So same kind of thing. I kind of made this up, microphone to media room. You can throw your own spin on it as you need. And of course, PlayStation, games, as they're getting more popular, we're seeing a lot of this content being refreshed just because, at the ages that people are now, right? Everyone that loved Marvel and comic books, they're now older. They can spend money, go out to the movies, invest in this stuff. So you're seeing a lot of cool stuff come out that may start as like a video game, like for instance, The Last of Us, very popular exclusive PlayStation title. Was a great series. I'm sure some of you watched it on HBO Max. I thought that was a killer series. But again, so that full line of Sony, just so you kind of understand and maybe share that with your clients, right? I'm sure everyone probably knows who Sony is, but at least you got that story in your back pocket. All right, so let's talk about ES receivers. I promise I'm not going to steal your information if you scan this. If you do, this is going to take you to our YouTube channel. This is a specific YouTube channel that was made for CI, and all the content is designed around you, the custom integrator, right? You installed a projector. How do you make it look its best, right? We go through picture modes. We'll show you how to do panel alignment. And we're always looking for new videos to create. If you've got something that you would like to see on this YouTube channel as an integrator, as a business owner, let us know, and we'll do our best to try to get that created here. All right, I did see one question come up from Lee, just real quick before we get started. Is the installer support email and phone number only available for ES products, or if someone calls ES receiver but a consumer TV, will they get the TV too? So that line is for basically anything CI. So whether it's television, ES receivers, or projectors, they're there to assist you. Yeah, good question, Lee. All right, so yeah, check that out. If you don't scan that, you just want to see the YouTube channel, if you type in Sony like CI or Sony custom integration, it should pop up in your search. So anyone guess how long it's been since we released our last ES receivers? It's been a while. It's been about 8 years since we launched the previous version of the ES receivers. What that means is we've had a ton of time to improve the build quality and really start from the ground up and build what is, going to be, in terms of sound quality, build quality, and reliability, some of the best receivers I've seen hit the market, especially at these price points. So our engineers, we looked at, how can we improve any vibration resonance, right, that may impact the sound negatively. So they changed the way the feet attach to the unit. There's an offset screw to help reduce any vibration. We've got larger power transformers, larger capacitors. We're even using our own ES grade soldering material. So we wanted to remove the lead. We're trying to reduce our footprint as much as we can here, be a little bit more green, but at the same time, we didn't want to, take away of any of those good sound characteristics, right? So we spent countless hours. I didn't, but our engineers spent hours testing different types of soldering material, all to make sure that these sound their very, very best. One thing that we do different compared to a lot of the competition out there is our preamp chips, our direct feed to each amplifier instead of a cascading design. What we found is we're getting better channel separation, and a lot of the reviewers are finding the same thing. So for those of you who haven't installed one of these yet or heard these, if you go and check out some of the YouTube reviews, you'll see a common theme with all these reviewers saying, we are doing surround processing and the surround processing capabilities so much better than what they've heard from brand X, let's say. And this has a lot to do with it by separating those chips. So here's just a kind of a closer look, the new large power transformer that you're going to find in these guys, larger capacitors, and truly a testament. We were running it was a 13-channel setup at our ES launch event down in Austin, Texas. We built out a theater at this luxury rental space, invited members from the press to kind of see this relaunch, right, of ES, right, and built a theater there. I was there alongside my counterparts a couple weeks in advance, trying to build this room out with a local integrator. This picture here, this was a 2-car garage before we took that photo, but that's an XW7000 projector on a 160-inch acoustically transparent screen from Screen Innovations. And then we had a full 13-channel KEF setup. And I'll never forget, I remember seeing Adam, he's listening to these demos and he's, hearing these speakers, and he goes over to the rack and he's like, this is it? This integrated amplifier is running all of this? He was shocked that there weren't like separates, right, with the level of sound quality he was hearing. So, and that's due in part to, that sound quality and build quality of the AZ7000, which I'll touch on here shortly. But we're driving this KEF system at 4 ohms, right? Cranking that sound for 3 days, sounded incredible. So sound quality was there. The other thing we wanted to nail for you guys was, how do we integrate with your control partners, right? How do we make it as easy as possible in setting these up? So, weeks, months in advance, a lot of our integration partners had these units, testing the APIs, building those new drivers, making sure they're rock solid for you out in the field. And one thing we really wanted to get a deeper level of integration on was remote monitoring capabilities, right? Some of you are probably using Oversee. If you're not using a remote monitoring service, I highly encourage it. Obviously, it helps prevent, a lot of those unnecessary truck rolls. But what's cool about our receivers is you can control every aspect of the receiver. You can access the web UI interface directly through Oversee remote. So you're getting a call, it's 7 o'clock at night on a Friday from a customer and trying to figure out what maybe went down on their system. You can now check every aspect of that AVR remote without having to send one of your techs out in the field. So really, really cool how we did that deeper level of integration there with Oversee. One thing we kept on the front of the AVR, starting at the 3000, is the ping button. No, you're not playing golf when you hit that, but when you do press that ping button, it'll identify the MAC address and the IP address, and it'll show up right on the front of the AVR receiver. So you're not having to, go look at the TV or the projector that may be in a different room. You can access that information directly from the front of the AVR, which is pretty cool. A couple other custom install features I think you guys will love in these new receivers. We kept the advanced front panel setup. The button layout is the same as the previous versions. So if your technicians, or maybe you had muscle memory on setting these up, that button layout is going to be identical. We've got multiple triggers that you can use, IR inputs or IR repeaters, powered second and third zones. And then that USB on the front, you can use that as an input for your high-res audio files if you want to play those back. You can also use it to save your settings. So think of maybe some jobs you have where maybe it's kind of a cookie cutter job, right? Maybe you're working with a production builder and a lot of the jobs are the same. You can save all your settings and easily deploy those from job to job. So your technicians are saving a lot of time in the field. Got the RS-232 input for backup if you're not using IP. Detachable power cord, some of you are probably like, how's that custom? On the retail piece, the AN1000 that's sold in a lot of the retail stores, that doesn't have a detachable power cord. It's also not going to get you IP control, and it doesn't come with a 5-year warranty. So if you're looking at the entry-level receiver, I highly recommend looking at the AZ1000, not the AN, because you're going to get that longer warranty. It's an ES product, and you get the IP functionality and a lot of the control you guys are looking for. If you're using rack ears, you're mounting this thing in a rack. We've got a new model number. It's the WSRE2s. The 3000 and above are compatible with the new rack ears, as well as the previous version of the rack ears. So if you guys are upgrading maybe an older Sony receiver that's rack mounted now, the new model should drop right into that older rack ear, which is the WSRE2, or excuse me, the 1, not the 2. All right, so what's new for 2023 in the ES receivers, right? We talked about all the new build quality, all that good stuff in terms of components. We updated how we measure the space and measure the speakers. We call it Digital Cinema Auto Calibration IX. I know that's a mouthful, but it uses a stereo microphone, and we include a little microphone stand. The stand has got two different positions, and we capture 4 different measurements. We're going to take a left and right measurement in this first position, and then as you're walking through the auto calibration, it'll ask you to move the microphone to the secondary position. And what we're doing is we're capturing that reading within a 360-degree space. And that's going to help with a lot of your object-based surround formats like Dolby Atmos, DTS:X, as well as some of the cool new enhancements that we've done, like our 360 SSM and some of our center channel improvements. So you connect the microphone to the front of the AVR. I realize, a lot of these AVRs are installed in another room. You can extend this. I've personally done this up to 100 feet because my rack is in a different location in the house. All you need is just a female to male 3.5 millimeter stereo cable. That'll get you taken care of there, extending that to the front of the AVR. You can also use a Balun if you want. We've seen dealers using those out in the field with good success. But yeah, super simple. Takes about 10 minutes to run through the auto calibration. I will say, whether you've used Sony's auto calibration before or brand X, right? There's other forms of auto calibration you've used. What's different that you're going to see in ours, in addition to just taking measurements of the speakers and the room, we're going to ask you for like the ceiling height. We're also going to ask you for the ear level position. And then we're going to ask you for distance from where your TV or projection screen is to where your main seating area is, as well as where the middle of that screen is. And so I recommend if you've got a laser measuring tool, it's going to make that process a lot more simple than using a tape measure. But it's crucial in why we're asking this because, well, I'll get to that here. I'll save that. So we'll come back to that. But we ask you a couple new things you haven't seen before. All right, in terms of video performance, it wouldn't be a good Sony product if we didn't have amazing video, right? So we've got all the latest in terms of 8K HDR capabilities, HDR10, hybrid log gamma, HDMI 2.1 functionality, as well as ALLM and VRR. And here's a look at the just the back inputs for you on the starting with the 3000. You're going to have 4 dedicated 8K inputs / 4K 120 inputs. You've got 2 additional 4K inputs, and then you've got 2 outputs, both of which are 8K capable. You can run a secondary zone if you want to assign that, or you can mirror those outputs and run them simultaneously if you want to do that. So again, that's the starting at the 3000 model that's shown. The entry-level 1000 has less inputs than this. I'll be happy to share that information, or we can send out kind of a little cheat sheet for you following this. But there's a look at the different models. Audio performance, same thing, right? We want to check all those boxes, make sure you guys got the latest codecs, Dolby Atmos, DTSX. I mentioned digital cinema, auto calibration IX, as well as 360 spatial sound mapping, which I'll touch on next. But one thing I want to mention is 360 reality audio. Many of you are probably, you're listening to Spotify or Tidal, maybe it's Qobuz or Deezer, these higher res streaming services. Well, 360 reality audio are special audio tracks that use multi-channel audio for those recordings. There's thousands of them available that are out there. There's new ones being added daily. But what's cool is because, we're Sony Music, we're able to work with a lot of the content creators when they're creating this music. And what's awesome is, we sit down with the artist, right? And we're like, hey, if you had more channels to kind of place instruments around the room, where would you do that? So we're always looking to preserve that creator's intent as much as possible. And definitely check it out. If you've got a pair of Sony headphones, this technology was made for headphones first. And then obviously now you're finding it in our AVRs, which is really, really cool. Looks like there may have been another question here pop in.
Yeah, it was Joe talking about the program, certain aspects of the program, which you can, I don't know, you want to talk about later, or go ahead.
Yeah, I'll come back to that. So we've got some pretty cool programs in place. But all right, so I mentioned these new measurements that you're going to be taking, right? You're going to be asked for ceiling height, and why is that? This is exactly the reason why. 360 SSM. What this is this is an audio codec, or this is audio processing that we do. It's exclusive to Sony to help those kind of imperfect rooms, those challenging spaces. You guys are often installing these in rooms where maybe it's a vaulted ceiling, maybe there's a attached kitchen, to the living room. It's a media space. It's not ideal for really a cinema, right, or even a theater. Or maybe you're not able to run speaker wire to those Atmos locations. Where 360 SSM is going to come in is by asking that ceiling height, our processing will place phantom speakers in that room, simulating that Dolby Atmos effect. It's really cool in how it works. I A/B this in our line shows. In fact, if you happen to catch one of those dates, we'll be happy to kind of show you by turning this quickly on and off so you can hear the difference. There is a very noticeable difference where I would say you shouldn't use this, or just I personally wouldn't, would be that ideal cinema, right? You physically have speakers in those Atmos locations. It's an ideal setup, right? You're probably not going to want to use 360 SSM in those spaces. Where it works best, again, perfect solution for those imperfect rooms, right? But I would say those are probably more than 50% of some of the rooms we're installing these in. So definitely check this out. A couple other the enhancements are our center channel speaker enhancements. And we've got some new features here that I find really cool. Let's say you sold the new 98-inch, right? Or maybe you sold our current 100-inch panel. Or maybe you did a 150-inch projection screen. If it's not acoustically transparent, oftentimes your center channels, either it's too far above or maybe too far below where the screen position is. With the dual center channel speaker option, we can assign one of the height channels in the AZ 5000 or AZ 7000 models. We can now add a secondary center channel. So think of, listening to stereo music, right? Your left and right speaker, now it's just turned vertically, right? So our imaging is good. All that sounds like it's coming from the display. Again, it uses one of the height channels, and we have the phase matching capabilities in the receivers to make sure it sounds as best as it can. The other feature I really like is the acoustic center sync. This is a compatible feature with our XR TV displays. It's a 3.5 millimeter cable. You connect it to the back of the AVR. That then goes to the TV. This is on all of the AVR receivers. It's not just exclusive to the 5 or 7. But what this does is the AVR, the receiver takes that information that would go to the center channel, and it sends higher frequencies to the television. And it plays it at a slight delay using what's called the Haas effect. It's like just a slight delay in sound, but it tricks our brain in thinking that all of the sound is coming from the TV. So it's a pretty cool process on how this works. And again, if your center channel is too low, you want to elevate those voices, get better imaging. Acoustic center sync, you definitely want to check that out on a compatible Sony TV. The other enhancement is a center speaker lift up. You can use the front height channels of your system to help elevate those voices, giving you better sound, better experience. Let's see here. I thought there was another question here. Sorry, I was just taking a peek down. Please use the chat, guys. If I'm going too fast here, or maybe you've got any questions, feel free to use that. Gary's going to help interrupt me and maybe jump in where needed. So, all right, wireless features. Welcome to 2023, right? Our previous version, it's been so many years, we didn't even have Wi-Fi in the past version, since it's been 8 years since the last receiver. So we got Bluetooth, we got you covered with Apple AirPlay 2, obviously Wi-Fi. There is a LAN cable if you want to hardwire it for that more stable connection. Definitely recommend doing that. Chromecast built in, works with Sonos, which is a new feature I'll tell you about here in a sec, and then Spotify Connect, as well as some wireless capabilities for speakers I think you guys will like. Works with Sonos. So unlike previous versions of the ES receivers, when you would try to put this into a Sonos system, right? Many of your clients you're working with, they may already have a Sonos setup that you're working within, or maybe you're selling a new one. You can pair up to 2 ports with the new models, and it will show up as how you named it in Sonos. So if it's media room or living room, bedroom, what have you, the actual name will show up in the receiver, unlike the previous version where it's just a MAC address. So in some of those larger systems, you had to, it's just a pain in the butt trying to remember what the MAC address was. Now it shows up in what you named it. Also, in terms of control, let's say you're trying to work within that ecosystem, right? So customer, they grab their phone, they fire up their Sonos app, they want to start listening to music in the living room. Well, Sonos is going to tell the receiver to turn on. It'll switch to the right input for you, and then you'll have that volume control through the port directly through the Sonos app. You won't have direct volume control of the Sony receiver, but you can assign a preset volume when you're setting these up at the beginning, and you can define where you want that volume limit to be. So super easy to do, takes just a couple of minutes, and you're in with that Sonos connectivity. Now, here's what I like. Let's say you're selling a surround sound system, right? And you just physically can't run rear speakers, but your customer wants that surround experience. You can now pair our wireless speakers to the AVR receivers. It doesn't matter the series, all of them work with this. The RS3s, those are powered speakers. They need to be plugged in the entire time. Great sounding speakers, but the RS5s, a little bit larger drivers, right? Better sound experience, Atmos enabled drivers, and they're also rechargeable battery powered speakers. So think about, those rooms where you don't have a plug. Now you can charge these up. There's about 8 hours of playback. So you can watch a couple movies, you can play your video games throughout the day, set your speakers behind you, and when you don't use them, put them back in the closet or wherever they need to go. So a great, solution for those vacation homes where maybe, the customer didn't want to run wireless rears for the vacation home. Now they just want to watch a 2-hour movie on a Saturday night with their family. Now they can do that and get that surround experience. So you can pair up to 1 pair of these per receiver. The RS5s will take up 2 channels. It'll take up either the surround or surround back, however you assign it. And it'll also use one of your Atmos channels. So it'll take up those 2 channels. The RS3s will take up just either the surround or the surround back. Now you can also pair our wireless subwoofers. I personally really like the sound of the SW5. SW3 is good too, but if you want a little bit more bass, I think you're really going to like the SW5 series. You can pair up to 2 of these per receiver. So again, those more challenging spaces where maybe you couldn't run a subwoofer cable, now you can just quickly pair it to the receiver. It pairs over 2.4 communication, so you don't have to worry about some of those length limitations. So distance shouldn't be an issue for you guys. So pretty cool features there. The Sony Music Center app will also work to control the AVR receivers. So if you've got a pair of our Sony headphones now, or maybe a Bluetooth Sony speaker, The same app will control the AVRs if you want to use that app. You'll have volume control, source selection, all that good stuff. And it wouldn't be ES without a 5-year warranty, right? So you get 5 years with that reliability, with that build quality on all of the ES models. And here's a look at the lineup. So for those of you who haven't sold these yet, definitely encourage you to check these out. They're really, really amazing. Snap's got plenty of them on hand. They're all shipping now and in stock. The 1,000, 1099 retail, it's 100 watts. You're looking at 7.2 channels. Great entry-level price point. But as you step up to the 3,000, we not only gain more channels, we're also gaining more amplification, right? We're at 120 watts now. And this is really where I feel like our ES kind of standard falls, where the ES quality, starts. If you look at just the size difference between like the 1,000 and the 3,000 is almost double in size in terms of its depth, and it weighs about 20 something pounds heavier. So just the overall, components that make up these receivers really start with that 3,000. So you're getting a lot of bang for your buck with the 3,000. The 5,000, 2099 retail, so 2,100 bucks, 11 channels, 130 watts, and then of course our reference receiver, AZ7000. You're looking at 13.2 channels. You get your dual center capabilities. You've got your full pre-outs. Both of those start at the AZ5000. But the cool thing with the 7,000, 150 watts, right? Tons of power, great sound quality, and the thing weighs almost 50 pounds. So just get your, work out your core, get your back muscles going to take these out of the box, because they have a little bit of weight for them. I threw a bunch of technical stuff at you on the receivers. The things to remember here would be build quality, reliability, right? These were built for CI. Everything that we looked at in terms of integration to what you guys are using on a day-to-day basis, we wanted to put these into the receivers. And most importantly, right, they're profitable for your business. Okay, so you're going to make great margin, and your customer is going to have a great performing audio product. All right, let's switch gears here. I'm going to go over to our ES projectors. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to use that chat. I know we've got some new people joining us now. But yes,
there was one that we kind of skipped over, not skipped over, but Johnny Davy did I hear you say the AN1000 does not have any IP control?
That is correct.
Okay, Johnny, that is true. We're clear.
I haven't tested that, but that's what I've been told by our engineers. So yes, that's one of the functions that you get. All right. So while we're talking ES, let's switch gears a little bit. Let's talk projectors. Many of you have sold these. If you haven't, maybe you're specifying a job or you've got one upcoming. We've got a bunch of different projector options for you to use in all different types of rooms. Last year, we announced 3 new models into the series. It was later in the year, so we're going to continue with those in 2023. And that's our XW series projectors. Since these hit, right around CEDIA last year, they've been getting a ton of reviews that are very, very positive, a ton of awards, just because these things are, they're all native 4K, they're all laser, and they're packed with a ton of features that you guys will use on your next installs. So here's a look at the lineup. We've got our GTZ 380 coming in at our flagship, followed by the other XW models in the series. So the GTZ 380 model, it's 10,000 lumens, right? So this is a flamethrower. If you need a light cannon to light up a massive screen, we got you covered with the GTZ 380. When you add the RF lens to it, the retail package is right around 89,000 with the lens and the projector. So it is a premium product. But what I love about it, it's one of the few projectors in the industry that's capable of doing 100% of the P3 color space. So just think, more colors, better color saturation, more color volume. This projector's got you covered with that capability. Uses our X1 Ultimate for projector processing chip, and again, the award-winning RF lens. So this thing is a beast. If you are selling this or specifying it, there's one thing you will need to do. You need to get a FDA variance. So work with your Snap salesperson And I'll get involved at this point too to help you through the process. Because it's so bright and the style of lasers, it's technically considered a laser light show in your customer's home. So I know that sounds kind of intimidating, but it's super easy to file. I fill out the forms and basically do everything for you. We just need a little bit more information and we'll walk you through that process. So if you, again, you have an application for this, definitely work with your Snap, salesperson, and I'll also help you along that way too. As we step down in the line, we've got our XW7000, $28,000 retail, 3,200 lumens. So we do jump down quite a bit, right? We go from 10,000 to 32, but you still get the X1 Ultimate for projector, the processor, and it's using a similar style lens to the ARC-F lens. We call it our ACF lens, stands for Advanced Crisp Focus. Basically, all you need to know is the focus in the center of the image is going to be the same throughout the corners and throughout the entire picture. It uses a floating focus system, 13-element lens. You got your motorized lens capabilities with the XW7000, as well as live color enhancement. This is a color enhancement feature using the processor that's only found in the 7000. The 6000, we step down, we go to 2,500 lumens, right? It's $12,000 retail. Also uses the ACF lens. So same lens in the 7000 and 6000. You have two color options. You could go with white or black, depending on your environment and space. But again, motorized lens capabilities for your multi-purpose screens. And then the XW5000, that's our entry-level native 4K laser projector. It is the world's smallest native 4K projector on the market. So if you're working in maybe a challenging space, projector lift, maybe it's just tighter space, definitely consider the XW5000. The main difference between the 5000 and 6000, obviously the lumens are a little bit lower, right? 2000 lumens. It uses our entry-level manual adjusting lens. So it does not have that lens memory position. If you are going to use a scope screen or 235-to-1 screen, you're going to want to pair the XW5000 with a Panamorph lens. Otherwise, the rest of the projectors are also compatible with Panamorph, but you've got motorized lens capability starting at the 6000. So, why Sony projectors versus, another brand? One thing I can tell you is how easy these are to install. By us reducing the footprint, by reducing the weight, it's a lot easier, when you're climbing up that ladder trying to get these installed overhead. Makes your job a lot easier out in the field. And the level of picture adjustments needed to make these look pretty outstanding, you don't have to do a whole lot out of the box to get these really dialed in. That's one of the things I absolutely love about our projectors is, most of us aren't going through the high level of professionally calibrating our systems. Do we want to? Absolutely. We recommend doing it, anytime you can. But the reality is more than 90% of our projectors being sold aren't being professionally calibrated. That said, there's plenty of minor adjustments you can do. Again, getting to our YouTube channel that I was talking about earlier, we're going to be throwing up some content on, here's how to make your projector pop just by using like panel alignment, for example. Sharpen the image, get better colors. There's a couple things you can do to tweak it to really make your projector shine. So again, getting to the voice of the dealer and the customers, people love how small these are in their rooms. They're not taking up a ton of space, and they're packing so much more brightness into these new models compared to where we used to be. Plus, we got the benefits of laser, right? Laser means longevity. If you're taking calls from your customer and those calls are, hey Dave, or hey Gary, I've had this installed for a few hours or a few years. I've got many hours on my projector. I need to order a new lamp. If you're taking those calls from your client that want to get a new lamp, maybe bring up the discussion about a laser projector, right? They're not going to have to change those lamps out. 20,000 hours to half brightness on these laser machines. To kind of put that in perspective, you could watch like a 2-hour movie every single day for the next 27 years until you hit that 20,000 hour half-life. And you're just at half brightness, right? So to kind of give you an idea of how long these laser engines work, super longevity. Fast on off operation. So you don't have to worry about, the picture kind of warming up and get, waiting for minutes at a time for these to power on. You've got that smooth dynamic contrast and of course that consistent brightness and color throughout the life of all of these models. So just to recap, our entire home cinema line of projectors, they're all laser, they're all 4K. If you guys are working in a commercial environment, right? And maybe it's a golf simulator, maybe it's a bar or restaurant, and you don't necessarily need this level of processing, but you still want a bright projector. Keep in mind, Snap offers our whole line. You can get it through our professional line of products. So our professional TVs, our professional projectors. We also have our cameras and a few other, like our CLED, for example, our direct view LEDs. That's another cool product found in our Pro line of displays. So if any questions on projectors, Gary, or how are we doing? Didn't see any come in.
Sorry, buddy, couldn't hit my button there.
Oh, you're good. You're good. I know. Let's see.
And the webinar, Dave, yep,
oh,
absolutely. So we're clear.
Yeah, PDF. All right, we're going to switch gears. Let's talk TV. Gary, we've got these new exciting TVs hitting the shelves, so to speak. Not really hitting the shelves because they're bigger than most shelves these days. But
I'm making room now. I'm making room now. I'll be ready.
Nice. All right, give me 1 second here to switch my PowerPoint, and let's talk TVs. Cool. All right, 2023 TVs are finally here. They've been a few of the models have been shipping for quite a few weeks now, or about the past few weeks, and we've got some major improvements even from last year, which I thought, the line that we had last year, me coming into Sony, I started with Sony last April, so I've been here for a year. Although I'm new to the company, I'm not new to the industry, obviously, but just seeing what we were offering, I was like, man, I can't get any better than this. And then 2023 hits, and I'm just totally surprised. So in the Master Series, all right, we had our A95K last year, king of TVs, best looking TV of all time, using the QD OLED technology. That is being replaced by the new A95L. I'll tell you about some of the cool features here in a sec. In the premium line of displays, we've got two new models now in mini LEDs. We've got our X95L and our X93L series. In the OLED displays in that premium lineup, we've got our A80L. This is replacing the A80K model that you guys were selling last year. The mini LEDs, both of those models kind of fit in where the X95K was, with some major improvements found in the X95L for this year. Going to the gold standard, we've got our X90L series. That's replacing the X90K. Full array LED technology, great foundation piece as well down below at the X77L. And we have some carryover. So in the Master Series, we've got two of the same models that we had last year that will continue through 2023. That is our Z9K. This is our 8K mini LED technology. That'll be available here throughout 2023, as well as the A90K series. That is the smaller size OLED displays in the Master Series. So you've got your 42 and your 48-inch sizes. And then the foundation, we're, entry level, right? Let's maybe secondary bedroom. We're going to continue with the X80K and the X85K. So those models will carry over for 2023. If you guys have any questions about some of the previous technology, just let me know. Today, we're going to focus on the new stuff. And that continues with the XR processor. So one of the things, owning Sonys throughout the years, even before I've worked here, what I've always been most impressed with Sony displays has been the processing, right? And the picture performance in the TVs. And 2023, we've taken everything that was great with the XR processor from last year, and we've enhanced one new feature called XR Clear Image. And what this does is it has the ability to look at that content coming in, and we can improve the sharpness found in some of those more blurry areas, especially like for your streaming content, where just the signal source maybe isn't as good, and the image might be a little bit more blurry than it should be. We have the ability to look at that image and process it, sharpen it, clean it up, and improve it, as well as any type of motion blur too. So your faster paced, video games or sports content, XR Clear Image is going to help enhance, that viewing experience. Those are the 4 models that the XR Clear Image is found on. So X95L, X90L, A95L, and A80L will all have the new edition of the XR Clear Image. All right, let's talk about the king of TV. So A95K last year, right? It's still selling, right? It's still a popular model. It is going to be replaced here very, very soon. The A95L will be shipping, we're looking at mid-August right now, if not maybe a little bit sooner, but plan on mid-August for the new A95L. This uses QD OLED technology. Now, I don't have a slide in this presentation that kind of talks about the difference, just because we didn't really have the time. But just know with QD OLED, the benefits of this, you're going to get more color volume, more color saturation, best contrast available, right? And now it's 200% brighter than what it previously was. So everything you loved about the A95K, King of TVs, take that and times it by 2 in terms of brightness. So we're 200% brighter with the new model, and we have it in a larger size now. The biggest complaint I always heard from dealers was, man, this new TV kicks a lot of ass, but I want it bigger. 65 was the biggest size display we had. Now we go up to 77 inches. So look out for the new 77 QD OLED coming your way. Again, we're looking at probably mid-August for shipping, if not sooner. So here's kind of how we're driving that extra brightness. We've got a new heat diffusion sheet. We're cranking up that bright QD OLED, and we're giving you all the contrast you had before, but now it's twice as bright. So super, super cool there. X95L, now switching gears, we were QD OLED, now this is mini LED. X95L is available in one size only. It's going to be 85 inches, but it's got an improvement over the X93L, which is also mini LED. And that's going to be 20% more local dimming zones, so better contrast. And it's going to be about 30% brighter than the X93L or the X95K was. So you've got XR Clear Image. We've got the XR Backlight Master Drive driving that panel super, super bright. So it's good for those rooms with a lot of ambient light. X90L now. So changing gears now, we're in our full array LED technology. We made a ton of improvements with this model compared to last year. So the new X90L, well, it has a bunch of new sizes, which we'll talk about here in a sec. We've increased the local dimming zones by about 60%. It's 30% brighter than last year's model, which means much brighter with a lot less blooming. The improvements I've seen on this display, and I'd encourage you guys to see these at the upcoming line shows. So those dates that I had out before, if you want to see all these in action, we've got them all. You'll be impressed by the black level that you're seeing in this full array set. I haven't seen a full array LED look this good ever. So really, really cool. It's also using the XR Clear Image, and great picture wouldn't go without great sound, right? So speaking of sound, we already touched on Acoustic Center Sync. This is a new feature found in the AVR receivers. It's available on any XR TV display. Again, it's that 3.5 millimeter cable you're connecting to the receiver that is going on the other end to the TV. It's also found on our sound bars, as well as the HTA9. And again, this uses the TV in addition to that sound bar or center channel with the AVRs to enhance our audio experience. In the X95L, we've put in a new built-in frame tweeter. So your sound quality is going to be a lot better with the X95L compared to the X93. That's another cool feature found for 2023. Acoustic Surface Audio Plus continues. So for those of you who really enjoyed that sound from our OLEDs and QD OLEDs before, you're going to have that available on the new models as well. And then premium content, I feel like some of you probably know what this is, but it does get overlooked quite a bit. When you sell a new TV, this option is on all those TVs that are going to your clients. And this is Bravia Core. Bravia Core is a service that Sony provides. It's a built-in app. The customer can go click on the app. They can choose select Sony titles. So it's all Sony, content. But what's cool about this is we give it to you with higher performance in video and higher performance in audio. It does require a stronger internet connection. You're going to need a little bit more bandwidth in order to take advantage of Bravia Core. But what's new for 2023, we've now got Dolby Atmos in there. So you've got that newer audio codec coming through for your Bravia Core content. Any customer that buys a new TV, when they set up a Bravia Core account, they're going to get 5 free movies to choose from. So we'll load them up with 5 free available titles. It's stored not locally in the TV like Kaleidoscape. Kaleidoscape, you download the higher res or higher audio, higher video quality, and it's stored locally. This is stored in the customer's account, so it's cloud-based service. But again, you do need that better internet connection. All right, we're 7 minutes to go here, and we've got just a few more things to finish up on. Perfect for PlayStation 5. Do I have any gamers or maybe kids with gamers that are on the call? Quite a few of us, right? I do play video games. I have a PS5 myself, but I don't get around to playing them as often because I'm always either traveling or working, right? Like all of us. But what's great is the TV's perfect for PS5. What that means is when you take your gaming system, your PS5, and you connect it to a Sony television, the Sony TV knows that's a PS5 and vice versa. So what the PS5 does is it sends that auto tone mapping directly to the television. It's a nice handshake that takes place, and it's it's like a band, right? It's an orchestra. They're all working together. But what's new for 2023 in gaming is the addition of the new game menu. And I think a lot of your clients are going to love this, especially if they've got kids or they're gamers themselves. But here's how this works. So, fire up the television, you've got your video game connected, and you want to access some of these cool features. You're going to bring up game mode under the picture settings. So you know how on the Sony TV, you've got standard, vivid, all your different picture modes. Once you turn on game mode, you can now access this special menu. This is only found on the new 2023 displays, but you can quickly turn on VRR. You can do your motion blur reduction for those faster paced video games. We have a feature in there called Black Equalizer. So rather than navigating to your contrast or your brightness setting, trying to elevate that black level, you can now quickly do that from the game menu in those darker scenes. We've got a new cheat mode for you. So for those of you who play games now, you probably know what this is. We can permanently fix crosshairs on the screen. You've got 6 different types of crosshairs to choose from. I've seen like competitive gamers, what they'll do is they'll take a piece of like Scotch tape and a little marker or Sharpie, and they'll put this on the center of the screen. Is it cheating? A little bit. It's getting you that perfect shot every time, right? But you have the ability to do that now in the display. You also have the ability to shrink the size down to what feels most comfortable for you when playing some of these competitive games. So me personally, I would rather play on the largest screen possible. As a competitive gamer, a lot of these guys like these smaller, like 27-inch monitors to play on. And if you've sold your client a 98-inch TV, they may feel more comfortable playing on that 27-inch monitor, right? So now the kid can, if they're an avid gamer, instead of being stuck in the room all day, now they can be in the living room, annoying the rest of the family playing video games. No, I'm just kidding. But you get the point here. So we can shrink it down to about 30% of the overall screen size and really, enhance that level of gaming experience. So again, customization, it goes in about 2 to 3% increments, and you can shrink the screen down to about 30% of the overall screen size. The other addition for gaming is going to be our new multi-view. This is found on the A95L only, so the new QD OLED. And what you can do is, let's say you're stuck on a level, right? You just can't beat this boss. You can bring up a gameplay walkthrough simultaneously, and you can pick the level of audio that you want. So let's say you want like 80% of your sound from your video game, 20% of the sound from YouTube. You can now do that simultaneously. You can also do this with like the built-in Netflix app, as well as your other HDMI sources. Dolby Vision, this is going to become a lot more popular as we're seeing more content come out. But as HDR becomes more available, more content is made in HDR. We're now going to start to see that Dolby Vision for for our video games, and that is compatible on the A95L. All of the TVs are on that Google platform, right? So you've got hundreds of thousands of different types of content. You know, you've got your Chromecast, it's Alexa capable as well. You've also got your Google Assistant with the Sony remote. You can use the microphone feature. Every Sony TV also has a microphone on it, the XR displays. There's a little switch on the bottom. It's default set to off. So if you ever want to use that function, you'll need to manually adjust that on the TV. So for privacy reasons, we always want to keep that off, right? Google Fast Pair, you got your pair of Bluetooth headphones. You want to quickly connect to the TV. Literally all you have to do is power on your headphones, put it in pairing mode, and this will pop up now with the Google Fast Pair on all the new TVs. So you can quickly get those Bluetooth headphones paired. Crunchyroll, you've now got a quick button. So if you're an anime fan, you want to quickly access that, you've got that direct button on the remote control. And as always, you know, we're trying to reduce our footprint on this planet. We've accelerated our target by about 10 years, which is awesome. You know, we're reducing a lot of the plastics and wastes that we're consuming, and we're encouraging our, you know, customers to kind of do their part too. You can set it to wherever you need to, but this is a new eco dashboard. So if this is something your homeowner is interested in or your client, they can do their part in, you know, adjusting the power consumption on the TV. As they use less power, the trees get more leaves to them. They get bigger. All right, so just to recap, A95L, QD OLED, best looking TV of all time was the A95K. This is going to be 200% brighter than that. One new size, 3 sizes available now, 77 inches, 65 and 55. You've got all the new features, the best processing, and we've also changed the stand. So some of you that sold the A95K, that had the slate base. We now went back to feet, which I personally like. Makes it a lot easier to install if you're tabletopping it. Most common install, you're probably installing these on the wall, but you have the new feet option with the A95L. The X95L mini LED, this is a CI exclusive piece. So you're not going to find this in a lot of the retailers out there. This is going to be specific for our CI channel, which I think is awesome. One size only. You can have any size that you want as long as it's 85 inches. But you get the XR clear image, mini LED technology, and all the other features that I told you about, including the new built-in frame tweeter. This also has the new feet available on the stand. And again, you've got multiple positions based on, you know, if you're trying to clear a sound bar, center channel, or narrow. X93L, this is the replacement for the X95K mini LED set. You got 3 sizes, 65, 75, 85. You've got the addition of the new game menu. What this does not have is the XR clear image. If you're wanting to give your customer the best possible TV in any type of environment, this is a good choice, but the X95L is going to give them even better picture quality and better sound. It just comes in the 85 inches only. So if some of you are just, you know, I'm plowing through this information. I know we're almost up here, or we are up, but just a couple more minutes. If you're wondering, you know, what type of TV should I sell in this type of room? I would say your mini LED, if you were to draw like a Venn diagram of best possible picture and, you know, bright room, right? The mini LED is going to fit right in the middle because it's going to give you the advantages of the brightness, and it's also going to reduce a lot of that glare coming in those brighter rooms. The new QD OLED, it does have a lot of that glare to it, but one of the things I think you're going to like about the new models is because it's 200% brighter, you can now start placing it in some of those rooms that have a little bit more ambient light. I still recommend, you know, mini LED over QD OLED in those insanely bright rooms where you're going to have a ton of glare, but definitely something to consider. So lastly, to finish up, A80L series OLED technology. This is replacing the A80K. 10% brighter. You've got 4 different sizes now with our 83-inch. You got the XR clear image and X90L. So the major improvement with this is, you know, 60% more local dimming, 30% brighter, but now we have a new 98-inch. This is going to be replacing the current 100-inch and 98 inches. The new 98-inch model has a new handle Instead of both being vertical on the back, we've now positioned the lower handle to be more natural in how you lift it, so it's horizontally placed. But what I love about these is it's 30% thinner, and it's got a new aluminum bezel on the X90 series. Well, folks, there you have it. Gary, I'm 2 minutes over time. I did have one last thing I wanted to share with everyone, if you don't mind sticking around for a minute. Is that okay, Gary?
By all means, go for it. We got a couple questions we can hit, guys. If you have to bail off, I understand. I will send out the entire PowerPoint. Andre, no problem. Probably by Monday, I'll put together an email. And remember, it goes out to everybody who registered. So that means even if they didn't hop on today, I'll get that back out to you guys. Go ahead.
All right, thanks, Gary.
Yep.
Yeah, so real quick, just to end this, our J series, K series, and new L series, as long as it's an XR display, you guys have access to this new CI Tools dashboard. And what this is it's to access this, it's a 3-button press. So you hit input, mute, and then you press and hold mute for about 2 or 3 seconds. You'll know it's worked when you see this menu pop up and it says allow CI Tools to access photos media. You hit allow, and then you're on that main screen. From here, you don't have to navigate multiple menus anymore, trying to figure out how to turn stuff on, how to turn stuff off. If you're getting a ton of network traffic in your install, I don't want to say these are always the culprits, but if your customer isn't using these, you can quickly turn off Apple AirPlay, you can turn off Google Cast, eliminate some of that crosstalk. You can assign initial input source. So you get a call from your client, hey, I don't have a picture. I sat on the remote, I don't know what happened. All they have to do is turn off the TV, turn it back on again, and it'll go back to the input that you assigned. You can also copy settings. So think of how much time you can save now on a job where you've sold multiple Sony TVs. Your techs can now copy all those settings to a thumb drive and then quickly deploy them into another TV in the house. It just has to be within the same series, but it can be any size of Sony TV. So yeah, with that, that's CI Tools dashboard. I just wanted to share that with you before we left today. And let me stop sharing my screen here.
Very nice. Joe, no, I don't. He's asking if he missed the program explanation, and I think that goes back to the original question about the dealer display promo or that information for showroom stuff.
Oh, what I'll do, Gary, rather than let me send you the document that you can distribute. I just don't want to give wrong information, but yeah, there's obviously demo programs in place. We've got different levels of programs as well too, depending on your partnership with us or with Snap. So I don't want to overspeak or give you the wrong info, but I'll make sure that I send that to you, Gary, so you can send it out as a recap.
Appreciate it. Okay, along those same lines, Brad, I'm new to the sales world. What is the best resource for reading more about these products to educate myself? Glad that, Brad, that you're new to it, and obviously, I mean, like the first line of defense is you've got an account with us. Obviously, we're here to help you at the partner stores at Snap One. Obviously, there's a lot to this, right? So, but I want to give you the right vernacular. So does Russell, on how you're going about selling Sony.
Yeah.
Sales features and so forth, but and go ahead, Russell. You got a ton of information.
Yeah. I was going to share my screen here. So the best resource would be SonyPremiumHome.com. This is a great website for you to check out. You can learn a ton about all the TVs. You can learn a ton about the projectors. The new TVs, the L series, because every model hasn't started shipping yet, they haven't been loaded just yet on Sony Premium Home. We also have a registered site called Dealer Source. And when you register for this, you get more files you can download, like in terms of logos or marketing assets. That's a great place to go to, as well as Dealer Source. You do have to register for an account, and Kathleen Thomas can get you approved for that. But I would go here first. Bookmark Sony Premium Home. Between projectors, the new ES receivers, there's a ton of great information on here. You can download brochures. We even have some training videos. So this is where I would start, would be Sony Premium Home.
Cool. All right, let's do some lightning round. Rob Clayson, what do you hit to get to the CI dashboard? Heard you say press button 4 times. What button?
Yeah, so great question. 3 times. So on your Sony remote control, you're going to hit input, mute, and then you're going to press and hold mute. So you're going to hit, I've got a little show and tell here, input, and then you're going to go down to your mute button, So you'll hit input, mute, and then press and hold mute for about 2 or 3 seconds. And then you'll see that menu pop up on the screen.
Cool. Thanks for the detail there, bud. Jason, can you Bluetooth to multiple headphones at one time?
Right now, I haven't messed with the new Google pair. I know it's just a single unit or single headphones on the previous models, but I haven't tested the new ones. I believe it's just one pair of wireless headphones. I'll have to see if you can do 2.
Okay.
I do know that the A95L has got the ability to do some more cool features in terms of audio. So you could like listen to the audio from the TV while you're doing Bluetooth simultaneously. But that model hasn't started shipping yet. So,
Derek, he's asking an opinion. How does the new 95L compare to the Z9K?
Good question. So I don't want to say it's a trick question. So the Z9K is an 8K display, right? The A95L is a 4K display. Now that said, there's in most common uses, there's really no 8K content that customers are watching, or that's really even available for that matter. Me personally, I like the look of the A95L better in terms of your color, your contrast. It's an overall better picture. But the Z9K in like a brighter room, for example, because the brightness of that Z9K and the 8K abilities, it's a pretty damn good looking set. So me personally, I would probably go for the look of the color and the contrast with the A95L. But in a bright room, I'd probably go with the like Z9K.
Nice. A question here, acoustic center sync 3.5 millimeter cable. Does it come with the TV or with TV?
No, it doesn't. So it's just a standard, stereo cable that you get 3.5 millimeter. It does not come with the TV or the receiver.
Got it. All right, that clears us out. Jason just saying feature request, which I think we're talking about more of those assets. Jason, I'll get that stuff out to you. Hey, I love the questions. I love the interaction here. Russell, thank you so much. I'm going to do my best to get this stuff out to everybody in a timely manner. So prep your rep firms across the country for requests coming in, and just, really, we're just energizing the base here. We're talking about the new lineups going on. I really appreciate you, isolating this and just talking to our partner store patrons, if you will. It's always good to get a clear line of sight with the dialogue here. We talked a lot about what's going on around the country. Guys, stay tuned. I've got some Sony exciting events that I'm doing, so stay tuned with that. The product coming in, I'm making room, obviously. Guys, I would consider you on this, or the audience, the true Sony purveyors, right? You sign up for the webinars, you're really involved. So we're going to stay tight with you guys. Russell, always great to work with you and your team. Thank you so much. Got a lot planned over the summer. And let's see, one more thing coming in here. Brad, thank you. Absolutely. Please list your contact information again. Pat, go ahead. You can flash that one thing up there.
I'll share it here. Give me one sec.
And yeah, they're going to stuff your inbox for the next 4 days, buddy. There you go.
It's all right. Where was I here?
There you go.